Yeah, so as I was saying, my name is Derek Alexander. I'm a commercial master trainer with Microsoft. And, I think that always sounds like one of those fancy old school Microsoft titles. The reality is I'm a guy who's lucky enough to have the opportunity to go speak to lots of clients about all the really cool technologies that Microsoft offers. And, education, I think, is probably the one that's most near and dear to my heart. I'd say the other reality of it is that I also happen to be the father, sorry, of a high school age daughter. So I have the opportunity to see, technology in action. So, it's always very exciting for me to see that and to deal with it. So without further ado, we're going to bounce forward on this. And as was mentioned, if you have any questions, feel free to type them up in the Q&A box as we go. And hopefully we'll get good value out of this for everybody here. So the reality what we're dealing with obviously is, education I don't think is necessarily about today. It's about really building the people that are going to be the leaders of tomorrow, the people that are going to invent the world that we don't even know it exists. One of the things we talk about a lot when we talk to educators and we talk to school systems is we take a look at, what is a class of 2030 and what is a graduating class of 2030 going to look like? We also understand there's a lot of limitations and challenges with the technology today. In a lot of cases, tools have been pushed into classrooms without necessarily thinking about, what's going to be best for the teacher in terms of how they're going to be able to work with that, and better yet, what's going to be important to the student in terms of making sure they have the best opportunity to learn, regardless of what it is that they have going on. So we always try and keep that in mind. And then part of what we also try to do with all the Microsoft tools that we have is make sure that we're going to find ways to help both teachers and IT folks become more efficient in their everyday jobs and be able to really engage with and deploy and use technology, but without making it really burdensome and really difficult. And part of that obviously is going to be a devices conversation, but a lot of it's also going to be a conversation around a lot of the technologies that Microsoft has, whether that be Office 365, whether that be Microsoft 365, Intune for Education, like a whole bunch of different tools that we have that we really feel can help you folks out. So.
Once, there was a school that wanted a better way to bring teachers and students together to collaborate, explore, and boost outcomes. Then one day, they discovered the solutions offered by Windows 10. From kindergarten to college to career and beyond, they found that Windows grows with students to help them achieve a wide range of learning milestones, all on one platform. They loved using Windows Ink, a powerful tool that lets them capture ideas quickly and naturally, which fosters creativity, boosts retention, and improves outcomes for everyone. By using Office 365, the school saw how students and educators could collaborate on the same documents in real time, whether they're in the next classroom or the other side of the world. The school was proud to increase productivity and inclusion. With tools built into Office 365 or their Windows 10 device, students with disabilities can communicate, consume, and create content more independently, efficiently, and confidently. The school also became a safer place to learn. With the most advanced security technology, Windows 10 helps protect students from malware and malicious sites. And Windows 10 is compatible with a huge range of devices, as well as next-generation educational resources, like 3D printers and mixed reality. The school could even use Microsoft Intune for Education to simplify deployment and management of PCs, devices, and applications, all through the cloud, so the IT team was able to transform the educational experience while keeping teachers in control. And because Microsoft is committed to improving education for everyone, the school acquired the cloud-based Office 365 Education free for the entire school. With all the benefits Microsoft Education provides students, educators, and IT administrators, the school found exactly what it was looking for. It's a great time to be learning.
So hopefully all of you folks saw something there that resonated with you or is of interest to you. And really what it is it's always funny because I always get the opportunity of these things and I'm like, well, there's everything you need to know. There's the 90 seconds worth of everything Microsoft Education. How do we take your order? And that's not the reality what we deal with. Obviously, we need to find a way to really understand and help you to understand a lot of the things that we do. And really, when Microsoft looks at education, we kind of look at it in three really key pillars. One is obviously around the outcomes, right? Making sure that students can actually have tools they can use, make sure that we have things for instance, for assistive learning, we have better tools to do individualized learning plans, and that we really help students to move towards academic success, not that's just going to stand them in good stead while they're in school, but also is going to get them ready for whatever their future career might be. And obviously we see product like Microsoft Office, for example, is one of the most requested technology skills, continues to be study after study, time after time. One of the top 5 usually skills that are requested by employers when they put out a job posting or a job application. We also need to find a way to make technology a lot more accessible and a lot easier to use for teachers. One of the things that we've seen happen a lot is as technology has gotten pushed into more and more classrooms and teachers, a lot more teachers are spending time either using technology and doing that on their own time, coming in after hours, having to learn how to use that technology. Or I've even seen situations where they kind of give up on the technology. I've been in classrooms where the devices just aren't set up and used and they're not actively deployed just because it's too time consuming and too overwhelming for the teacher to do that. And then the last piece of it, and really ties into both of these, is an underlying part of that, a key pillar to all of this has to be the technology has to be both affordable and it has to be easy to use. And we think with the Microsoft Education solution that you're going to see that there's a lot of things that would actually align with that. So we take a look at it, that first topic we talk about is around better learning outcomes, whether it's around personalized tools for somebody who has maybe a learning challenge and needs to have some tools to assist them with learning how to read and write, whether it's about being able to integrate a lot of the STEM and STEAM technologies into curriculums that we see, having things that are going to help with the integration of coding platforms or robotics or gamification as a learning tool. And then that overwhelming goal in terms of making sure students are really getting the skills they need that are going to serve them later in life, that they're learning about cooperation and communication and collaboration and all those things that are really, we sometimes call them soft skills, but I really believe that they're essential skills for the future for both their work and their life. And then on the back end, the Microsoft platform is really interesting because it has some really sophisticated analytics and things like that that we can use to really help districts do things like increase graduation rates, assess points in time where students are at risk of dropping out and all those kinds of things. So one of the things we talk about in regards to that is a lot of these Microsoft learning tools. And I'm going to take a moment to show that to you shortly. And then also a lot of the things that you can do that are way better on that Microsoft platform, particularly around ink and touch. And a lot of the ink and touch technology is really a legacy that we have from the Microsoft Surface products and that have transported across from that, where we've developed those best-in-class tools and then we've really integrated them into low-cost devices and given you the opportunity to integrate those right into the classroom. So one of the big things, Microsoft as a company is really focused on inclusivity, both with our own employees and also with the tools that we have in place. And one of the things that we like to think about is, things like the essential skill of reading. There's that point in time where someone goes from learning to read to reading to learn. And if they don't learn how to read successfully, if they have a challenge of dyslexia or dysgraphia or some other text decoding challenge, or maybe English is not their first language, maybe English is not the first language in the home. And so that can be very puzzling to them. And we've seen that with the use of these learning tools, that the students who have dyslexia or dysgraphia can learn to read, and not only learn to read, but actually learn to read at or above grade level. And interestingly enough, as we really focused on developing these tools for accessibility, we've also seen that they're very applicable for students who English may not be that first language. Then also the fact that we also support writing, that we do things like supporting the use of ink in applications and really the impact that has on outcomes and better test scores. I don't know if you saw it in the video, but one of the major studies we've seen is from Sharon Olivet, who really goes through and looks at the effect of inking on all test scores all up. And the fact that there's more than a 36% increase in average test scores, just in terms of retention and the way our brains and bodies are built. We benefit more from actually having things, the ability to write them or to work with them in another ink format. Then helping it so that students have access to all these things as independent learners. And the really important thing with these tools, the thing I really want to emphasize about them, is they're not some add-on that you have to pay for. They're not a third-party application that you have to go and buy. They're all integrated right into our tools. They're integrated to OneNote and OneNote Online and into Word and Office and Outlook and Microsoft Edge. These tools are built right into everything. And if you look at the right-hand side of the screen, you can see things like an example of our immersive reader. It has the ability to go through and take away some of that background clutter that you might find on a web page really put it in a simplified reading box, break things into syllables, and really go through and have the ability to emphasize that and to really show parts of speech and those kinds of things. Then we have a dictation feature, which would actually read that aloud to the student if they wanted and really bounce them through as they go with it. We have this picture dictionary, for the word tiger there, for example. It's got the ability to go through and show a picture of what it is, and it can even enunciate the word for them. And we've seen massive gains from students in terms of how they benefit from that. How they can really see the gains from going through and using those tools and really improve their reading comprehension and their scores overall. Another one of the things that we really do, and this is really one of the unique and really impressive things about the Microsoft platform, and one of the things that works best on a Microsoft platform, it really isn't available on other platforms, is the use of things like gamification as a learning tool. Minecraft Education Edition, Minecraft continues to be one of the best-selling applications in the world. And if you talk to anyone who's got 10 or 12-year-old kids, they all tend to play Minecraft. And what we've done is we've taken that Minecraft experience, we built out an education edition of it, and we started to integrate some additional tools. So let's take a little bit of a deeper dive on that. So as I said, one of the things obviously that using Minecraft in a classroom does is really drive that love of learning, really drive that engagement with students, that willingness to do the work, and for the teacher to be able to build curriculum within Minecraft or build Minecraft as part of their curriculum. And then what we've done beyond that is we've actually started to do some really significant add-ons. So one of the most interesting ones is this Minecraft Code Builder. This actually has the ability so that you can start with computer science and be able to teach within a few minutes, teach students computer science in any grade K through 12. And we have tons of examples and case studies of that, where we have schools that are teaching computer science at all kinds of levels. And you'll probably see that little animated guy, the agent, bouncing around on the screen there. If you're in a kindergarten class, for example, they just drag a couple blocks into the programming screen, and they go and then the agent acts that out in terms of the application. But with Minecraft Education Edition, Code Builder actually integrates into some major coding platforms. So platforms like Tinker and Scratch and MakeCode. And it really gives you the ability to take computer science education using Minecraft all the way up to the most senior grades. You can teach advanced JavaScript with Minecraft, for example. So it really gives you the ability to use that tool regardless and throughout the school or the school district, and use it in all grade levels. One of the recent releases we brought out as well is the Minecraft chemistry set. And when we bring out these sets, one thing you will find that we do is we also release learning modules as part of it. We go and we have educators help us to develop curriculum certified courses. And now you can go in and you can build compounds, you can do chemistry experiments, you can do all those things within Minecraft. And then the cool thing that we really want to make sure to mention here is sort of in that bottom right of the text piece there, the fact that there's a lot of teacher content that's available. If you go to education.minecraft.net, you'll find this massive community of global educators, all grades, all subjects, all languages, that go and they work really well as a peer group together. They share lesson plans, they share best practices, they offer mentoring and training for that. Because one of the biggest challenges we obviously deal with is we drop these technologies in, and then we expect teachers to learn them on their own, but we don't necessarily drive the right level of professional development for them. So keep in mind that we offer that as part of the support. That Minecraft community is a great community. They're very good. If you're a brand new teacher to Minecraft, you go there, you sign up and you say, hey, I'm brand new to Minecraft. And other teachers will actually offer to mentor you and teach you how to use Minecraft and start to implement it into your classroom. As well as I said, is having access to all those modules that are already pre-done and pre-shared on all kinds of subjects from other teachers. And then one of the most interesting new ones we brought out is this Aquatic world. We brought out an Aquatic update for Minecraft Education Edition. We announced it to the BET Exposition, the British Exposition for Teaching and Technology, in January in London, UK. And we've included with it, as I said, a number of different standards aligned lessons that are already pre-done across a variety of subjects. And then we also have a variety of free worlds that are available to download and to be used and implemented within the classroom, and really using that for teachers. So it's kind of the STEM and the STEM and Minecraft piece of it. I think one of the other things that we really need to talk about and we continue to emphasize is that although we can't really predict, I've read many studies that say, 2/3 of the jobs that students are going to have don't exist today, that kind of thing. So we can't necessarily predict what the exact job title is going to be, but we can certainly make sure that they have the right skills. you know, whether it's communication or collaboration or the ability to be creative in the workplace. We really feel that Microsoft Office and a lot of the Microsoft related products that are part of Microsoft Office really equip students with those skills and have that ability to develop some of those things. So let's take a look under the hood at a few of those things. So one of the first things obviously we talked about is really being able to create content that students are going to be interested in. You know, having a lot of built-in tools that are very helpful for that thing. And there's some great quick starter tools within PowerPoint and Word. You know, there's a research assistant within Word. There's a quick starter template for PowerPoint, where a student can go in and they can type in a topic that they want to research or a topic they want to do a presentation on, and it'll start to bring in approved content for them. And if you have a library subscription, for example, through your district or your school, you can go in and pull content that's from there as well as having general internet stuff. Then we also have a lot of those things that you're going to want for future ready skills. Being able to use Microsoft, for example, Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and so on. Again, really key skills for the future employability. And by the way, we have this interesting tool, Resume Assistant, which actually takes a lot of our learnings from LinkedIn and includes feedback as someone's drafting their resume. So it's kind of interesting from that perspective, especially when you get into senior grades or post-secondary. But the big thing that's really interesting with Office 365, and I've heard it said by a few of our customers and partners, that, you know, Microsoft has this great education platform, but it's almost like a stealth marketing campaign. It's all these secrets that we're keeping and we don't really get the information out there. So one of the things that we didn't talk about for a long time is a lot of the native collaboration tools that are built into the Microsoft Office suite. And we started to see our competitors talking more about that, and people just assumed we didn't have those tools when in fact we'd had them all along. So there's the ability to share and collaborate documents, work on them in real time with other people, work on a cloud version while someone's working on a local version and having updates go in place. From an educator's perspective, there's even the ability when students are working on a project together, a teacher can go into that document after the fact and assess who's done how much, what kind of input they've put in, how much time and effort they put into it. And that's really valuable when you're doing group work. We also have a lot of really good tools that work on the back end. You know, one of the things that I think is really important is make sure that, you know, these tools, yes, they're in the classroom and they're being used, but really making sure that we'll be able to deliver the real results, those real outcomes that we talk about. So we have a lot of examples. You know, Tacoma Public Schools, for example, is one of the school districts that has given us a lot of endorsements because we help them to drive a massive increase in graduation rates. You know, with working with Microsoft and using our business analytics on the background and our Azure machine learning, they were actually able to increase their graduation rate by 30% over the course of 3 years. And a lot of it was using things, you know, some demographic information in terms of, you know, language in the home and that kind of thing. And then also looking at key tipping points or key intersection points. You know, how did they do in certain classes throughout their school career? How was their attendance rate? Were there points where there's an opportunity to intervene and to really start to shift that? And that's one of the things that we really saw as we started to look at this. And we offer these kinds of services as a consultative service through CDI and through our partners to go in and really work with you in your school district to really make sure that we're drafting those things and making sure that we're really making that effort to make sure your graduation rates, your literacy rates, your testing scores, all those things continue to progress in the direction you want and start to build out some learnings around those. The other part of what we talked about, and I think this is really central to everything we do, is making sure that our tools have the teacher in mind. You know, one of the things that I have a lot of teachers that are in my family. I have a brother and a couple of brother-in-laws and sister-in-law and so on that are all teachers. And one of the things they're always telling me is that there's just never enough hours in the day. And you look at a lot of the things they put time and effort into. So one of the things obviously is lesson planning, you know, the distributing and handling assignments, communicating with their students, communicating with the teacher, with the parents and guardians of those students. And even the number of things that are required, you know, things like having to run multiple applications to teach a lesson and then a different application to go and distribute an assignment, a different one to do the grading, a different one to capture and record that grading, a different one to input that into the learning management system, having to use multiple applications. And what we're finding with the refinements we've made to the Microsoft tools, a lot of the changes we made, that we can actually do all of that in one place using tools that you probably already own. You know, so that idea around saving teachers time is really built around two kind of key products that are kind of underlying that. Excuse me. One is Microsoft Teams, which is our modern collaboration tool. And then the other is the OneNote Classroom Notebook. So if we take a look at Microsoft Teams for Education, one of the great things that it has in place is it comes already pre-populated with some particular tools that are built specifically for education. The first of these and kind of front line is obviously the class team. One of the things we can do is if you've gone through, we have a free tool called School Data Sync. And if you go through and use that tool, you can actually build out all the rostering information for your district so that you know what students are in what class, what subjects are taking, or a teacher can build out a class notebook for each of their classes very automatically, a single click in many cases. And then they can use those tools to start to collaborate and start to do things like hand out projects, hand out assignments, do grading within that software. But we also offer professional learning community teams as part of this as well. And we're seeing a lot of engagement with this and a lot of excitement from educators around it. Where teachers can go and they can share best practices, they can share lesson plans, they can share some of the online resources they're using, or maybe some multimedia content. And they can also do things like go through and you can start to build in professional development plans for your staff in there. You can build out in the PLC community, for instance, a track for professional certification. And we're actually seeing a lot of active education, a lot of educators engage with us on education.microsoft.com, where they can go and register as a teacher and start to go and complete particular certifications. They can become a Minecraft innovative educator. They can become a OneNote educator. They can do Microsoft Teams or become specialists in a variety of different multimedia platforms. And then it also comes with a staff team pre-populated, where the principal or the school leader or department head can go and they can do things like conduct virtual staff meetings, or they can record staff meetings and have them available for people to consume after the fact. You can share things like school disciplinary policies. And the nice thing with that is because it's collaborative and also real time, but also it captures it as a resource, it's archived. If you have a new hire during the course of the year, maybe you have a new teacher come in, or a substitute teacher, or somebody goes on hiatus or something, the new teacher can come in and very quickly, by going through these particular teams, these teams that exist, they can go through and they get caught up very, very quickly and become productive and up to speed on what's going on within the team. And then the other thing you can do as well is you can also build your own custom teams. Maybe you have an extracurricular activity that involves staff and students and teachers and maybe some community members. It's very easy to build that out and collaborate on any kind of project using Microsoft Teams. The other thing that we need to talk about as well is when we take a look at it, Microsoft OneNote. OneNote for Education is an amazing product. I kind of call it like your digital 3-ring binder. And in theory, that's a lot what it's like, but it's so much more than that. As I said, you can go through as a teacher, you can set up a class notebook for every class that you teach. Students can also get one for every subject that they're taking. And you can do this all on the back end using School Data Sync and really plugging into your rostering information using your learning management system. So you can track moves and ads and all that kind of stuff. But you start to do things like have the ability to distribute your curriculum. You have the ability to put out your lesson plans in a digital format. You can start to pull in third-party content. Maybe you use a lot of TED Talks in your classroom. Maybe you use a lot of other internet content. Maybe you have stuff you built in PowerPoint or another application. You can put that right into there. The nice thing you can also do is you can distribute assignments. You can grade them directly within that. You can provide private written feedback to the students, and you can go through and do that. And then by integrating with our learning management system tools, you go through and you can capture the grading right into your grading system. Be able to do that without having to go out into that second or third or fourth application and copy and paste or transpose information. One of the other features that we've also added to OneNote, and it's been probably the #1 request we had for it, was actually to have an auditor version of it where a guardian or a parent can go and they can see, how's Johnny doing? How's he behaving in this class? What kind of homework does he have? How are his grades? What's the feedback from the teacher? All that kind of stuff so that a parent can become much more active in their student's life. And we all know that, students that have motivated and interested parents tend to be considerably more successful. One of the nice things with OneNote as well that you can see here is that ability to do inking. That ability to do handwritten changes into things, or go through and highlight or lasso and drag into other applications and work with content. It's also got a private chat tool so that if you're teaching a particular math lesson and a teacher can see a student making the same error over and over in the work as they're going through it, rather than having to call the student out in front of everybody, they can go and have that private conversation with them in a chat window and maybe offer them some coaching. You know, on this particular math problem, I noticed that you're making the same error these times. Have you thought of trying this? And that really helps the student to feel more valued and also more interested and more engaged. We also have a number of other tools that are very good at really driving these things. And as I said, the big thing to keep in mind is that they all have the learning tools built right into them. We have things like Office Lens, where you can isolate a particular item and go and find out more deep content on that, integrated right into all of it. We have tools like Tell Me and Office Dictate and Researcher, all these tools that are really built to go through and really make it easier for you to be sure that you're offering full accessibility to all your students. We also, for free, we offer an accessibility checker, you know, and it's a really important feature for us. And then another one I always feel that that we need to make more mention of is using Skype in the classroom. We have this great set of the ability to go and visit various, you know, do a class trip to the pyramids. Not everybody can obviously afford to fly their students over, but we have a Skype in the classroom for that. Or go and visit different museums. We actually have a number of museums that are engaged globally who will go through and they'll actually do with a curator, they'll go through and they'll walk your class in real time through part of their museum. And that's definitely going to drive deeper engagement than just reading something in a textbook or just researching it on the internet. So lots of opportunity there to really drive those things into the. So there's some of the underlying Microsoft technology, you know, and some of those are parts of Microsoft Office 365 included for free. Definitely a lot of them are available as additional free applications from Microsoft. So be aware that those tools are there. But one of the things that we're also dealing with is the fact that none of this is really relevant if we don't have, you know, affordable devices that are easy to manage and really make sure the students have access to technology, but also that it's purpose-built for education. You know, really having devices that are ruggedized, so that they're capable of handling a drop or a spill. So they have all-day battery life, so they're not shutting down partway through the day, or they're not running Windows updates during the course of the day. Having devices, if you're in a shared environment, you know, maybe you're running carts or you have class sets of devices, where the students' credentials and their background, their documents, all those kinds of things, all travel with them. So whatever device that school managed and authorized that they log on to has the necessary settings that they want. And all of these, the nice thing to know is that all of these are available in affordable devices. You're going to find now that, you know, like for like, configuration for configuration, Windows devices are now going to cost the same as competing Chromebooks. And that wasn't always the case. You know, we know that a lot of the inroads that were made by our competitor were because we had devices that were sometimes 3 or 4 times the price. And when you're asked to buy the maximum number of devices for the maximum number of students with a fixed budget, obviously a $200 device accomplishes that a lot more easily than a $600 or an $800 device. And then we have great tools to manage those devices. So let's take a bit of a deeper look at that. So, you know, the thing that I said as well is just having that access, making sure that you have Windows 10 laptops that can really do that. And one of the things that I did want to make sure we take a look at is this portfolio of devices. And this was recently updated. You'll see that a number of these devices have that red BET logo on them. So those were either brand new announcements or updated announcements at the BET conference in January. But you can see starting in that top row that we really have, you know, I kind of call them those Me Too devices. They're that $200 clamshell, right? They're those devices that are going to allow you to buy like for like with a Chromebook, so that you don't have to try and explain, why am I using a Windows platform? You can actually buy the same devices and do way more with Windows. But for me, where the story gets really interesting is when I start to look at the devices in that better category, where we're getting into those devices. They're convertible, they have touchscreen, they support inking, they support a lot of really compelling new technologies. You know, and you can see that we have them starting at around $289, sub $300 kind of price point. You know, and a lot of them are really great modern devices as well. So we go through and we take a look at that, and those devices, you know, they tend to have, in many cases, they actually have longer than all-day battery life. We have the ability to go through and do that and have those conversations. One of the really interesting devices for me, actually, and this is, you know, this is the device that my daughter actually uses. We replaced her Chromebook with one of the Lenovo 300Es. And I don't know if you can really make it out that well in the picture on the screen, but when you're looking at that, it's a convertible device, and it's shown there in tent mode, and it's shown with the stylus in front of it, but you'll also see there's a pencil in front of that device. And why that is Lenovo and ourselves are getting a lot of feedback from schools and kind of saying, well, what do we do if the student loses a stylus? How are they going to be able to be doing inking? How expensive is it going to be to replace? So Lenovo actually went through and they worked with their manufacturing process. And I can tell you now that Lenovo 300E, you can actually use a standard #2 pencil. They're about 29 to 49 cents, something like that. And most people have a bunch of them lying around. So if a student loses their stylus, they can use a regular pencil to go through and do their inking right on that device. You know, and it's a really compelling technology. And by the way, that technology only works on the Windows version of that device. There is a Google version of that device, but the pencil technology does not work in the Google Chrome atmosphere. And I do see a question from one of the attendees, and we will be getting to the conversation around the web-based console momentarily. That is a product called Intune, and we actually have a few slides coming up on that. So hopefully we'll be able to help you with that. So, and as if by magic, look at that. It's as if we had a queue for it. So yeah, the product we have that does that is a product called Intune for Education. And what I really wanted to do is we're going to talk a little bit about that and do a bit of a deeper dive on that. And we can go even deeper either towards the Q&A portion of the webinar, or in a separate offline conversation if you need more data. So without further ado.
All right, class, here are your new PCs. Please open OneNote and let's get started.
So that was kind of an introduction, sorry, to one of the different ways that you can use Intune for Education. And Intune for Education is, for those of you who are not familiar with it, Microsoft has this product called Intune. It's our mobile device manager. It competes directly with a number of the top tier products that are out there, you know, AirWatch, Mobile Iron, a whole bunch of other ones that do mobile device management. It's a highly regarded product in the corporate environment. For instance, it's in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for mobile device managers. And it's a really great tool that a number of Fortune 500 companies, actually the vast majority of them, have been using for a few years now to manage their devices. But the thing that we found with Intune is that the interface on it was more IT oriented. It wasn't something that would lend itself, for example, if you wanted to ship, you know, like the video showed, 30 computers to a couple teachers to go and configure and set up live on the network. So what we did is we brought out this product, Intune for Education, and put a modern interface on top of it. And you'll see on the screen here, we show another one, Express Configuration. And really what we've done with this is we've tried to give a number of different ways that you can choose to configure devices and then manage them off of the Intune console on the back end. All right, so one of the options you have, and we showed it in the video, is that ability to go and create a simplified set of configuration files, throw them on a USB key, and plug them into devices when you first power them on at that Windows Hello screen. And I can tell you, you know, I'm not an IT person. I'm not a computer science graduate. I'm not an engineer. I actually have an English literature degree, but I'm a show me kind of guy. So they told me you could, you know, go and configure this and in an hour set up a full class set of devices off of a USB key. So I went and did it. And I can tell you for a fact that it is very possible and very easy to do. So that's one of the easy ways we offer that as a configuration. We also offer an express configuration tool where you can go and take a device into management. You can send out a device to like a grade 4 teacher. They can run the express configuration tool for Intune, and with 4 simple clicks, they can have that device up and managed on the school environment. You can also manage it on a back end if you want to use Active Directory. So they can go and you can set up on the back end. You can use School Data Sync to set up the roster for your school, your class, your entire school district if you wanted. Assign devices to different groups, assign them different app privileges, all that kind of stuff, and use the cloud and Azure Active Directory to manage those identities. And then when they go and sign in with that Windows 10 device, or an iOS device, by the way, as well, and we'll talk about that a little in a second, they can go in with either a Windows 10 device or an iOS device. They enter their school username and password, verify their identity, and in the background, Intune is going to start managing that device and start pushing the applications that they need to them, whether that's a computer science or a CAD application, a math application, whatever it is that you assign to that particular user group will be pushed to them in the background. One of the other advantages that Intune actually has, and it's really interesting, is the variety of different devices that we offer that you can manage using a single Intune device license per device. So not only do we manage Windows 10 devices, but we also manage Windows 7 and 8. We manage Mac OS devices. We manage iOS devices. An interesting one that we find for a lot of customers is the fact that we also manage Android devices, something that Chrome Management Console doesn't do. And then on the back end, using the traditional Intune interface, you can also manage Linux and Unix and Windows servers. So you have a real variety of choices. And by the way, for those of you that are using System Center Configuration Manager or SCCM to manage your servers and your IT infrastructure, Intune plugs in natively into there and works right within your console, or you can run all that stuff off of a single pane of glass and manage those settings there. But as I said, what we really did is we took the Intune product, and it's not an either or. It's not either I get Intune or I get Intune for Education. You actually get both, and you just choose how you use your interface. But you can manage a wide variety of devices and have really sophisticated, rich management that's still really simple to do at the same time. So hopefully that answered your question in regards to the web-based tool that we use to manage devices. So it's called Intune for Education, and it's available. The pricing's the same as a Chrome Management Console, so it's a $30 US list per device. Same as Chrome Management Console, like for like, plus has way more features and supports a variety of different client platforms as well as server platforms as well. So hopefully that addressed that question for you. So one of the other things we also want to make sure we talk about is that having that ability to make sure that we're able to go through and really let you do things and be sure that you're safe and be sure that you're secure. That's really essential these days. I mean, obviously we can tell you Windows 10 is the safest version of Windows that we've ever brought out. And it includes all kinds of great tools and technology. It includes Windows Defender, Windows Advanced Threat Protection, all kinds of security features there. Has the most sophisticated protection available for protecting against phishing and malware. Obviously the browser and phishing and spoofing are the real preferred vectors of attack these days from a security perspective. And then the other thing you need to be aware of is just the standard that Microsoft holds ourselves in regards to student information. Our privacy policy is very, very transparent. We don't ever gather or anonymize student data of any way. It's not something that we do, and it's a part of our commitment to education. And you'll see, you haven't seen Microsoft as one of those companies, for instance, that's being called in front of the US Congress to have some conversations about the web stuff. And that's because of our commitment to user privacy. And you'll also see as when you start to have conversations around things like GDPR compliance, that general data protection regulation that governs in the EU now. Microsoft 100% compliant with it, well ahead of the curve on it, and continues to be really focused there. So at the end of the day, we really wanted to think about, how can you do all these different things? How can you go through and really create this environment and really transform into a modern learning environment? Office 365 Education, I think, is really the key to that. Right? It's the key focus product of it. And if you're not using Office 365 Education today because you bought a competing or grabbed a competing product for free, be aware that Office 365 Education, the cloud version of that, is 100% free to schools. Free to any student or teacher, K through 12. And it's the web-based version of it. It's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. It gives them the ability to have those cloud tools. Then to be able to go and do things, great example is that OneNote class notebook. That way that a teacher can go and build out personalized learning experiences for the students, but still have all kinds of ways to save time and efficiency by reducing having to hand out lesson plans and handouts, and the way they can gather and mark all those kinds of great things. And then all those comprehension and assistive learning tools that we have, like that immersive reader. So that's really the story around the Microsoft Education piece. I know it was a lot of material in one go and very high level. Definitely looking for your feedback following the presentation on some additional content you'd like to see in the future. But we really feel that we're really able to hit every aspect of what it is that we want to see, whether you're a student, a superintendent, or a curriculum person or something like that, and having that focus on those learning outcomes and inclusivity. Whether you're a teacher or a student and you need to see the benefit of how you can really use these digital technologies in the classroom and how you can really benefit from that. And then those tools that we have, those affordable devices that are super easy to manage with Intune for Education, and really having the ability to go through and support all of that. So that's it for me. I'm going to hand it back to Mike. And he can help you with some summary stuff, and then we can open it up for Q&A. And then I know that our friends at CDI also have a call to action for us. So, and there was a question in regards to getting copies of the presentation as well. I will talk to that. Definitely something we're going to be offering. We'll make sure to get that out to you via our friends at CDI. Okay, so sorry about that. We're just trying to, so in terms of the kind of the next steps, we're definitely going to be reaching out to you post-event with a survey to get your feedback on additional content and topics you'd like to see. And in terms of ways we'd love to see you engage with us is reach out to your CDI account representative, let them know if there's a topic that's of further interest to you. Let them know if there's anything further they can help you with, any topics you need more information on, something you'd like to know more about. And then we're also going to be sending, as I said, a copy of the presentation for you to go through and come back with any additional questions that you may have. And then we'd be glad to help you out with any kind of demos. If you need a demo of Office 365, if you need a demo of Intune, those can definitely be provided to you for free. And CDI can definitely help to facilitate that for you. So with that, let's open things up to questions. If you feel like putting a question either in the Q&A box, or if you have any further questions that you'd like to ask. No, and I don't see any further questions there. Is there anyone who wants to unmute and ask a further question? Okay, I don't see anything. So with that, I'd like to thank you for attending today's webinar, and keep your eyes out for the upcoming, where we'll be in contact with some further follow-up in regards to a post-event survey, content from the presentation, and your opportunity to get further information from your CDI account representative. Thanks again for attending today.